Hey everyone, it's me, Gretchen Rubin, coming to you live from New York City from my apartment, where we have just had a massive snow, but it's over now. And I'm very excited to be talking to you. And it's funny, I feel like I should grab a mask, but we don't have to through the wonders of technology. So tell me where you're joining from if you're joining. I love to see where in the world people are. Hello. Oh, here. This is great. So fun. So we are here today to talk about 20 for 20 lists. Did you make a 20 for 20 list? Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you made it. Time to review it and look back and see what the lessons were from 2020. And it's time to look forward to start thinking about the 21 for 21 list. So Elizabeth and I have done this for the last 3 years, as we've talked about on the Happier podcast. And we're getting ready. She's been making her list. I've been making my list. We haven't revealed them to each other yet, but we will talk about that in an upcoming podcast episode. So I want to know, Bay Area, Iceland. Wow. You know, I was supposed to go to Iceland this year and I couldn't. West Virginia, Michigan. Excellent. Italy. So before I forget, though, I want to mention that I am giving away 4 slots to the Happiness Project Experience, which is my online course, so that you can do your own Happiness Project Experience. If you want the details about how to get a free slot for you and 3 friends, go to my latest post on Instagram. All the details are there. It's very easy. I hope that you will join me in the Happiness Project Experience. This is so fun for me and I think for the participants, so I hope you will join. So 20 for 20. Here is my 20 for 20 list. It's probably backwards. And, you know, COVID happened. So, yeah, give a thumbs up if you found that some of the things that you intended to do, you weren't able to do because of COVID. And both for Elizabeth and me, we had a lot of things that had to do with entertaining. Both of us are always kind of trying to push ourselves to entertain more. And, of course, that didn't happen. Elizabeth especially had a lot of things to do with traveling. She was going to travel here to New York City. She had planned a family trip, which they hadn't taken in a long time. She was going to travel to see her college friends. And obviously, oh, look at all these thumbs up. I see it. Like we're all experiencing it. But then a lot of things did get done. And so I think it's fun to think about the things that did get done. Like I got a colonoscopy. I used Cologuard. Several listeners had suggested that to me. So I found out that I was a good candidate. So I got that done. Got a shingles vaccine. What else did I do? I did the Walk 20 for 20. Did you join us in the Walk 20 and 20 for 20? That seems like something that a lot of people added to their list or did. That was really a big benefit. Oh, someone says, I actually got some things off my list because I had the time. Well, I think that's absolutely true, that for some people, like not having a commute meant they could do things like cook more or get back into meditation or exercise more consistently. Just having the commute time itself, and then also maybe you weren't traveling for work. Like I usually travel for work so much, but I wasn't traveling for work. And so, you know, it made some things harder and some things easier. And I think it's, you know, sometimes people get discouraged because, and we heard this from people who were sort of distressed that they didn't get as much done on their list as they'd hoped to do. But, you know, it's one of these things where we don't want to beat ourselves up for it. This is really supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be a way to get ourselves to meet our aims. But then it's also instructive, like, well, certain things didn't get done. Why or why not did they get done? And then how can you think about that in the future? So how many people do not like making New Year's resolutions? Like, are you not a fan of that strategy for starting a new year? Because a lot of people, for instance, my sister, Elizabeth, just don't like the New Year's resolutions. I think it's because, especially if you're an obliger, and if you want to know if you're an obliger, you can take the quiz at quiz.gretchenrubin.com. Obligers often are discouraged with New Year's resolutions because they've tried and failed in the past. And so if that's you, if the 4 tendencies, my personality framework has a lot of hints about how you can do a better job of keeping New Year's resolutions. But if you just sort of you're turned off of the whole New Year's resolutions, for some reason, and I'd be curious to know if you feel this way, the 20 for 20, the 21 for 21 list just feels more fun. It feels more doable. Yeah, someone says no resolutions. I'm an obliger. Oh, and someone says I like making goals. See, yeah, and I'm gonna do the 21. If you were gonna make a 21 for 21 list, and you would like sort of a sheet like this where it's sort of you can print it out and post it somewhere. You can find the link in my profile, or you can go to gretchenrubin.com/resources because it's there if you want to print it out and fill it out. Someone says I like making them, just don't often complete. Again, this is a place where knowing your tendency can give you a lot of clues about why you might be not completing an aim. Why a rebel doesn't do it is very different from why a questioner doesn't do it, which is very different from why an obliger doesn't do it. Yeah, someone says obliger here. Yes. This is way more fun. I shared it with a friend for accountability. That is a great idea. And you know, I've even heard of people doing lists with another person or as a family or like with a romantic partner. I think that would be super fun to do it that way. So again, if you were just joining, I am Gretchen Rubin. I am in my apartment in New York City. And I said the storm was over, but actually now I'm looking out the window and it's starting to snow again. We have a lot of snow here. And we are talking about 20 for 20 lists, but before I forget, I want to make sure, again, to remind you that I'm giving away I'm giving away 4 free slots to the Happiness Project Experience, my online course for helping people do their own Happiness Project experiences online. There's like videos and live calls and SMS texts and all kinds of things. You can find out all the information on my latest Instagram post. Someone said, I make plans and goals for each quarter, but I love adding something special. So I love adding some special things for the new year. Well, that sounds very questioner to me, or perhaps upholder. And I think that's a great idea because there's this idea of evolution. Some people, and I think this is a great idea, have a feature in their list, say in their 21 for 21 list, that is explicitly to evolve. So maybe the last item on the list is something like to be filled in later, or it's something like this item is the instruction to take out something in the list above and replace it with something else, or you can just leave something blank. Someone said, I just got your book. Oh, that's great. I hope you enjoy it. 21 for 21 seems way more fun and less intimidating than big New Year's resolutions. And here's something else that some people do. You can make a list of things that are only fun. One of the things that has surprised me is it's understandable why we have a hard time getting ourselves to do things that we don't enjoy, that maybe we don't want to do. But what's surprising to me, and let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced this, sometimes it's hard to get ourselves to do things we love to do. It's hard to make time for things that we look forward to with pleasure and that are good for us. It's like I've heard from so many people who are like, I love to read. It makes me feel good to read. And somehow I can never make time to read. And yet I make time to do all kinds of things that I don't really like to do. So just the fact that we enjoy something doesn't mean that we necessarily make time for it in our lives. And so putting that on a 21 for 21 list might be a way to push yourself to do something that you really enjoy doing, because of course that's an important part of a happier life. We want to have time, things like make a will, which has been on my sister's list. The things that we need to get done and ought to get done, but then maybe you want to have a list that's only like fun things. That's fine too. Or you could have 10 and 10 and one bonus. There's a lot of different ways that you can set it up. And someone said it's helpful to add in some fun goals instead of making everything productive goals. And I absolutely agree with that. Great point. And another kind of fun way that people do this is sometimes they play off the number. So like it's 21 for 21, so maybe you're going to read 21 memoirs, or you're going to try 21 new hikes, or you're going to try 21 new recipes or watch 21 classic movies, kind of a way to play with the 21. Again, it's kind of arbitrary. I know you questioners are thinking 21 is an arbitrary number, but it's a little bit of whimsy. I'm always on the hunt for whimsy, and it's just kind of a fun way to set yourself a little aim. Someone wanted to run 21 miles in January in 2021. I mean, that's not something that I would do, but I respect it. So what have you done, left undone, learned about yourself from doing your 2020 list, or what are you thinking that you want to add to 21 for 21? And one thing that a lot of people have said is that because there is still a lot of uncertainty about 21, what's going to happen in 21 for things like traveling, for like what is work going to look like, what's school going to look like. It's maybe still feels hard to anticipate everything that might be possible in 2021. So that's kind of a struggle for some people, I think, too. Yeah, someone says, yes, I didn't complete the 2020. Someone said, reading your books and listening to your podcast has helped me so much in my life. Thank you. That is so nice. Thank you. Someone said, Rebel here. I think I usually made resolutions that I thought I should want to do. So I like the 21 for 21 because I can focus on the things that I really want to do. This is a great idea, especially if you're a rebel, because remember, rebels can do anything they want to do. So the thing is to remember, this is what I want. And then sometimes a rebel could call it like a maybe list, maybe 21 for 21. But speaking of my books, I do hear around this time of year when a lot of people are thinking about what they want from the upcoming year, how they could make their lives happier, healthier, more productive, or more creative. I hear from a lot of people who read The Happiness Project, and I also hear from which is all about having a happiness project and how you can it's the story of how I sort of structured a year to try to make myself happier. And spoiler alert, I did. And then Better Than Before is all about habit change. It's the 21 strategies that we can use to make or break our habits. And sort of the nutshell takeaway there is that there's sort of an idea that there's the best way or the right way to do things, but what I found is there is no magic one-size-fits-all solution. And so what works for one person doesn't work for someone else. And so part of Better Than Before is figuring out, well, what kind of person are you? So you're not just throwing spaghetti against the wall and doing what your sister-in-law did, but you're actually going about it in the way that's going to help you to succeed. And this is part of the thinking behind 21 for 21. This is a way where, for some reason, this change in structure, this change in perspective helps people to achieve aims in a way that feels fun and manageable and appealing, whereas something like a New Year's resolutions turns them off. And so it's basically the same thing, but by putting it in a different way, you kind of tap into a different part of your mind and your spirit, and it's easier to follow through. Someone said the could-do list helped me so much, right? The might-could list, instead of the to-do list, the could-do list. And how many people made a to-do list? This is the list that you make of the things you've already done. Whatever you did in 2020, you did a lot of things that you didn't expect to have to do. You managed a lot of uncertainty. Give yourself a gold star for that. Make a to-do list. Maybe you didn't do all the things on 2020, but you did your 20 things on your to-do list. So that's a great thing. Someone said, I love your list idea. That worked for some other goal setting every month. It has helped my obliger teen too. Resolutions are new patterns that people want to develop. Yes. Someone says, habit tracker for monthly goals is super helpful. Now, this is the kind of tool that some people really love. Habit trackers, anything that helps you, like don't break the chain. If you did Walk 20 and 20, we had a Don't Break the Chain resource, which again, you can get that. The link is in my profile. And there'll also be one for Walk 21 in 21, because we're all going to keep walking, I hope. Because Don't Break the Chain works really well for some people. But I will say for someone like a rebel, that might not work. That kind of thing it is Don't Break the Chain, right? And the chain does sometimes make rebels feel trapped, and that they want to resist. And so they're better off, instead of tracking it that way, doing like, well, I feel like doing it. This is what I choose. And every time they choose again. I have to say, as an upholder, that sounds exhausting to me. I want to choose once and then just go put it on autopilot. I don't know if there's upholders watching who feel the same way, or rebels who feel this way about Don't Break the Chain, that it can kind of ignite that spirit of resistance. But for many people, a Don't Break the Chain, a habit tracker, is very, very useful. Measuring tends to be very helpful with habit formation. That is actually one of the strategies in Better Than Before. We manage what we measure. We manage what we monitor. And so that can be really, really helpful. Oh, so I'm just reading this. Yeah, especially if you're a parent, student, wife, and work. That's me. Oh, yes. I'm an obliger, and always my list, and always. Oh, and always make a list, but then feel guilty that it isn't more productive or work related. We don't have to be doing work all the time. Sometimes we have to make time for ourselves. And it's important to have fun because that re-energizes us. And really, in the long run, it makes us happier, but I also think it makes us more productive. It makes us healthier. And when we give more to ourselves, we can ask more from ourselves. And so if everything on your calendar is something that you're dreading or that feels like work and there's no fun there, it's going to be very hard to get yourself to do the things that might make you happier, but feel like a lot of work. And so I do think that by making time for fun, and if you're an obliger, somebody mentioned that they did it with someone else for accountability. You're going to need accountability probably for everything on your list, in the long run, you're going to serve yourself better, and by serving yourself better, you're going to serve the world better too. And if you are just joining, I am Gretchen Rubin. I am in my apartment in New York City on a very snowy day, and we are talking about the 20 for 20 list and looking ahead to 21 for 21 lists. And I also want to make sure that people know that I am giving away 4 free slots in the Happiness Project Experience, which is my online course about designing and following your own happiness project experience. So if you think you and 3 friends would like to do that, you can check out all the details in my most recent Instagram post. All the details are there. It's not hard. Someone said, I had 20 classic movies, new recipes, and new hikes for 2020. Was able to complete. Wow, gold star for you. So that's using the 2020 as kind of as a framework. Someone says, I put off the fun things I enjoy due to my daunting list of obligations. Well, you have to make time for fun. I think that's really important. Someone says, will you have a new word for the year ahead? Well, Zoe, I do. I've already picked it out. I hope that you have your word for the year as well. And I just heard from somebody this morning. This is an interesting twist on 21 for 21. Her word was savor. That's her word. And she wanted to have everything on her 21 for 21 list somehow be engaged with the idea of savor. So I thought that was a really interesting way to approach a list. I've also heard of people making lists that are all on one theme, like the theme of adventure or the theme of health. Sometimes people have sub-themes, like it might be like learning and family and friendship or something like that. They're divided into themes. But I thought it was interesting to tie it to the one-word theme, because then you really are kind of creating a whole framework for going through your year. I thought that was really imaginative. Now, someone says maybe go with 21 affirmations. Now, this is a really interesting point, and this is something ever since I wrote The Happiness Project, I was very struck by this. When I wrote The Happiness Project, before it was published, several people said to me, well, you can't call it The Happiness Project because the word project sounds like homework and no one's going to want to read the book because it's going to sound like work. And I thought, well, that's odd, because to me, that sounds like fun. Like, I like the idea of a happiness project and kind of the juxtaposition of happiness and project. I really got a kick out of it. And so I decided to, and that was truly the way that I first conceived of the idea, so I just decided to stick with it. But it was interesting to me that for some people, the idea of a project was off-putting. But then for some people like me, it was very attractive. And I've learned that a lot of people's have different ideas about vocabulary. So, affirmation might be a word that is really attractive to you. Or maybe it's it's your 21 determinations, or it's your 21 aims. Talking about the Happiness Project, a lot of people talk about the metaphor of the journey. I don't really like the metaphor of the journey. It just doesn't resonate with me for one reason or another. But for other people, it resonates tremendously. And so I think part of what's interesting is you should always be willing and eager to take an idea and customize it. If the 21 for 21 list, if you're like, I think it'd be better to have 21 affirmations, absolutely 100%. That is a great, if you want to do New Year's determinations, because for some reason that word gets you like pumped up, absolutely do it. Some people want to practice piano. Some people want to play piano. Sometimes these little shifts in, somebody was saying a could-do list instead of a to-do list made a huge difference. Or thinking of a 21 for 21 list as maybe it's 21 suggestions or 21 possibilities. Whatever works for you. Oh, somebody's doing things I'm letting go of. That is a great idea for a list. Things that you're crossing off your list. That is something to really think so. Someone says Better Than Before is one of the absolute best habit books ever. Oh, you're so nice to say so. That is very nice. Oh, someone just mentioned the name of my podcast. Yes, I'm sorry. If you do not know the name of my podcast, it's called Happier with Gretchen Rubin. And every week I talk with my sister, Elizabeth, who is a TV writer in Los Angeles, about how to be happier, healthier, more productive, more creative. And like side note, I just can't help but brag on Elizabeth. Very exciting. She just sold a show going straight to series on Fox. It is a reboot of Fantasy Island. And I cannot wait to see what she and Sarah do with this, because that is an iconic show. And it's such a great idea, right? I keep coming up with ideas where I'm like, I think this could be a good fantasy. Of course, I have no idea what makes for good TV, but I'm just pestering her with my ideas. But anyway, it's very exciting. It's such a nice way to end the year. Someone says, I love all your books and I have them in multiple formats. Oh, that is so nice. Someone's saying, how many rebels are here? Okay, thumbs up if you're a rebel. Let's see how many rebels are in the house. Because 21 for 21 list, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, right? Because it's like all the things you want to do, and it's helping you live up to your identity and what you want. So in that way, it might appeal to rebels. On the other hand, sometimes rebels don't like to feel trapped. They don't want a list that they're supposed to cross off, so they might not like it. Again, do what works for you. Someone says, are you still taking daily trips through the Met? Yes, it's number one here. I just went today. I was one of the first people in. It was a huge snowstorm here. Actually, like New York City schools were closed, insofar as they're open. But the Met was open. And what was interesting, was fun to see, is like this year they have the Christmas tree, the big, elaborate, beautiful Christmas tree in Petrie Sculpture Court instead of in the medieval hall the way they usually do. So it's under these huge skylights, which were piled with snow. So it was fun to see the snow from the inside looking up, and it gave like this beautiful pearly light, kind of very sort of otherworldly. So yes, I am going to the Met every day that it's open, though because of I think COVID era restrictions, it's only open 5 days a week right now instead of 7 days a week. But I am going, and I love it more than ever because it's so fun to be able to do that. Someone said thank you for the Christmas Carol. Yes, I did a bonus double episode, two installments in the Happier with Gretchen Rubin feed. I did an audiobook of A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens's timeless classic, which is scarier than you remember probably and funnier than you remember. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had such a fun time doing it. Chuck and I really had fun doing it. Someone said, I'm a rebel doing a to-do list. Didn't do the things I thought I would, but man, I accomplished so much. Oh, that sounds so rebel, right? It's like, it's not what I was supposed to do, but I still got a ton done. Someone said, I think a lot of people on here would really like bullet journals. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you like a bullet journal. Now, if you listen to my sister's other podcast, Happier in Hollywood, her writing partner and co-host, Sarah Fain, loves a bullet journal and has kept one faithfully for years and like hard into it. I have such kind of an encyclopedic tendency anyway. I'm afraid that I would be swamped by a bullet journal and I would like never be able to do anything else because I'd be so focused on filling in my bullet journal. So I have resisted the bullet journal, but many, many people find that to be an incredibly useful tool. Yeah, someone else said, I like the idea of things I'm letting go of in 2021, or something that you don't want to do. Someone said, I'm a rebel. I don't even try to make a list. I trust myself to follow naturally what my values tell me to. Now, I want to say this is a really important thing. As a rebel, you know this. But I think if you're not a rebel and you have a rebel in your life, because you're as a parent, as a child, as a coworker, as a friend, as a sweetheart, it's important to remember that this is how rebels do their best, when they stay connected to what they want and who they are. And if you try to force them to do things like this, or to sign up for a course, or to have like a weekly check-in meeting, you will ignite that spirit of resistance. Listen to the rebel when they tell you how they do their best work. Get out of their way. Don't nag them. Don't nudge them. Don't remind them. And because that's not what works for rebels. It can work for other people. Don't break the chain can work for other people. But with a rebel, sometimes they like it. I would never say never with rebels. There's every tool some rebel likes is decided that they like. But we have to respect that rebel, like the source of the rebel energy and how they do their best work. Someone said, as a rebel, I keep the sense of decision by having multiple routes. Yes, and I think that's something that many rebels do. It's like, I'm going to exercise, but every day I exercise how I feel like it. Someone said, there's lots of rebels watching. Sometimes I feel as a rebel, people despise me, even though they are intimidated by me. But they sometimes act as if I'm trouble, which builds the fire inside me more. I do think, having written the 4 tendencies, I do think that the rebel tendency is the one that's the most misunderstood by the other 3 tendencies. And so I think that it is very helpful for everyone, rebels and non-rebels alike, to understand the rebel tendency, to work together more effectively and more harmoniously. And someone said, my goal for 2020 was to read 20 books, but I actually read 36 books because of the pandemic. So that's a great example of how maybe the changes of the pandemic helped you keep certain aims more consistently, even if you couldn't do other ones. So I would be curious to know in the comments, if there was something that because of the pandemic you were more able to do, put it in the comments, because I think that'll give yourself a gold star, or something that you added along the way, like maybe something that you hadn't planned to try to do in January, but once the pandemic situation started, you realized, now I have an opportunity to add something in. Maybe you didn't put it on your 20 for 20 list, but you just decided to kind of add it into the mix. Someone said, where do I get inspirations to think about my word or theme of the year? Well, we have talked about this for the last couple of years on the Happier podcast. So if you just search my website, GretchenRubin.com, and you just put in like Happier podcast, one word theme or something like that, you can pull up the episodes, you can listen to them, or you can listen to them in your podcast app, where we talk about them. We give tons of examples of different ones that listeners have sent us each year. We talk about our own. I will say for one word, and if you're watching and you've had a one word theme, or you've picked out your one word theme for 21, put it in here, because I think a lot of times we get an inspiration from seeing what other people have chosen, kind of riff off that. It's often good if the word has multiple meanings, kind of literal and metaphorical meanings too. So like I mentioned, someone picked the word savor. Well, you can imagine someone could savor their food more, but they could also savor the park that's by their house. Like someone, or like 1 year my word was growth. And so growth has a lot of different meanings. And so that can make a word, like I think was it last year? No, last year Elizabeth picked number 6. 2 years ago, Elizabeth picked novel, because she wanted to write a novel, and she also wanted to push herself to try new and novel things. So again, but then people pick words like green, we're like, what does that even mean? It's kind of like open. But then there's words that are, like energy. I mean, you're like, I just want to think about how to get more energy. Someone said, my childhood best friend and I turned 50 in April 2023. We both made a 50 by 50 list in October that we were very excited about. We are both very different people, so that makes it even more fun. That is a great idea, 50 by 50. That is so fun. That is a great idea. Someone said, okay, here's a great word for 2020. Expand. Just completely has blown my mind reflecting on it from this year. Mega gold star. Oh, excellent, gold star for you. So that's a great idea. It's something like expand. So again, my theme is kind of weird. It's glue. And I'm willing to hold my skills, my relationships, and my life together. See, that's really interesting. I would never have thought of that. Glue, but the minute you say it, my mind is full of like interesting possibility. So yeah, keep my theme, willingly disciplined. Yes, I'm a rebel. Oh, interesting. Willingly disciplined. Now see, discipline, as an upholder, our motto is discipline is my freedom. But a rebel once told me, well, my motto is the opposite. Freedom is my discipline. And so I think willingly disciplined is very apt. Someone said, I love the word project. I use it a lot. It motivates me. So again, the word project is great for some people. Oh, someone says glue is a great one. Yes, it is. Someone saying, I'm thinking of copying Shonda Rhimes' book and having a year of yes for 2021. That's great. But so here's the thing about one-word themes. Sometimes you could pick the opposite. Like someone's word could be yes, and someone's word could be no. And someone's word could be bigger, and which I picked one year, and someone else's word can be smaller, which is a word Elizabeth picked one year. You could have the word wait, and you could have the word now. So sometimes, the opposite of a profound truth is also true. If you are just joining, I am Gretchen Rubin, coming to you live from New York City, and the magic of technology means that we can talk without a mask, which is so nice. And we are talking about looking back on 20 for 20 lists, looking ahead for 21 for 21 lists. We're talking about the adjacent topic of picking the one-word theme for the year. So if you've got your one-word theme or you've got an idea for 21, put it in the comments. It's so fun to see other people's ideas. And again, I am giving away 4 free slots to the Happiness Project Experience, my online course that will take you through creating your own happiness project. It is so fun. If you want to learn more about that, you can check my Instagram post. My most recent post has all the details. And so again, there's like videos, there's resources, there's interviews, there's an SMS thing, there's live conversations, there's like a lot going on there, and I'm giving away 4 for free, so find that out. Someone said, the word project makes me think of school, which makes me think of homework, which I always have to do. That's exactly what these people were saying to me. They were like, project sounds like homework, and homework does not sound like fun. This doesn't appeal to us. And I will say that one of the things that I have learned as a writer is that a strong voice repels as well as attracts. And that you have to be willing as a writer, I certainly have to be willing to accept the fact that what I do and say is not interesting to everyone, and that's okay, because if I try to be interesting to everyone, I will probably be interesting to no one. You will hear the phone. I can't turn my phone off in this room, so we're going to have to bear with it. Whoops. Let's see. 21 was a journey of strength. 21 best practices to stay strong physically, mentally, emotionally. That's great. Someone said, I started to listen to Happier last month. You bring me company every morning, and I love it. Oh, that's so nice. Yes, the Happier podcast. Oh, this is so nice. All these people are saying nice things. I like that. Someone said, my word for the year is passion. Doing more things I'm passionate about and also finding my passion. So again, this is a word that has a lot of meaning, a lot of significance, can take you in a lot of different directions. So it's very rich. Oh, someone says, congratulations to Elizabeth and Sarah. That's nice. I will pass that along. She's very, very, very excited. Someone said, I just came up with my word for 2021, energy. I want to do activities to have more energy and put more energy into whatever I do. That's great. I have to say, when I did the Happiness Project, when I wrote the book, so each month has a theme, and the theme for the first month was energy, because I decided if I had more energy, it would be easier to do all the other things that I was going to try to do for the rest of the year. And I did find that to be true. And in fact, whenever people say to me like, well, if I want to do my own happiness project, where would I start? I recommend starting with energy, because with energy, it's easier to have a sense of humor. It's easier to have forbearance. It's easier to have empathy and to kind of see someone else's side. It's easier to get ourselves to do things that we don't feel like doing. It's easier to get ourselves to do things that we know will make us happier, but that are a lot of work. Like, oh yeah, I could organize a Zoom call for my friend's birthday, but I'd have to send out all these emails, and I'd have to figure out the Zoom link, and I'd have to make, herd the cats. And I know I'd be happier, and I know she'd be happier, and I know it'd be fun. but I feel so exhausted, I can't tackle it. So energy helps us with these things, follow through with these things that in the end then will feed us more energy. But it kind of takes energy. You got to invest energy to get the energy out, and that can be tricky if you're feeling very overwhelmed or exhausted. Someone said, it sounds inspiring to go to the Met every day. Does it energize and inspire you? Absolutely, 100% it does. I'm going to write about this in my next book, about the 5 senses, about like the power of a daily visit. But one of the things I kind of thought this would be like a thing that I would do every day. And it was sort of like, it'll be like a little chore that I have to do every day, like my walk 20 and 20. I enjoy it, but it's like something that I need to do. But in fact, I love going to the Met. I look forward to going to the Met. It's like, it's such a treat. I get there and it's like, I just think about whatever I want to think about. It's like a break from myself. And yet it's not like meditation where you're really trying to be disciplined with your mind. It's free. It's like I'm letting my mind off the leash. It's like the snow day in the middle of my work day. And I have all these interesting things to look at. And it's just like I'm walking around. So I kind of get that. I spend a lot of time sitting. And so it feels good to get up and just kind of walk around. It's inside. So sometimes when I'm doing my daily walk, the weather is like either very hot or very cold. The Met is always indoors. How many people here have read From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Baisley Frankwiller? Give me a thumbs up if you read that book. It's one of my all-time favorite books. And I feel like every day when I go to the Met, it's like my own little tribute to Claudia and James, because I think of them often. Like whenever I go to the restroom there, I think of Claudia hiding out in the restroom, waiting for the guards to pass. And someone said, I listen to your podcast on my walk 20 for 20, and I often extend my walk to finish. Great, that's fantastic. Put in the comments if you have a podcast that you love or an audiobook that you love that you have paired with exercise. This is, I talk about this in Better Than Before. It's the strategy of pairing. When you pair something like exercise with something that you love, like listening to an audiobook or a podcast, that can be super effective in helping you stick to a good habit. And so people are always looking for great podcasts. I am so excited because I just found a great podcast today. My good friend Laura Miller, who is a book critic and a great reader, I love her taste in books. Without telling me, I cannot believe, I'm going to write her a scolding email that she did not let me know, that she started a podcast called The Authority that's all about Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, which is also on HBO. I have not watched season 2 on HBO. I need to do that, but I have read all the books many times. I love His Dark Materials. I love Philip Pullman. And I can think of nothing that would delight me more than listening to two people going deep diving into His Dark Materials. And so now it's like I want to go for an hour walk so that I can listen for a whole hour. So if you have a podcast that you love or an audiobook that you love, put it in the comments, because I think people are always looking for great new stuff. Someone said, I'm thinking of choosing one word for each month because I'm too incisive to pick a word for the year. That is a great idea. I love that idea. And that's kind of what I did in the Happiness Project. I picked a theme for the year and I did concrete resolutions for each theme. And so I love that idea. I think that's really great. So it has been so much fun talking to you. Again, I want to remind people that if they want to get a list like this so they can print out, if you want to make a list of your 21 for 21 as you're thinking of it and like throughout the year, you can get that. You can get that at GretchenRubin.com/resources, or you can also find the link in my profile. If you are getting ready to head into the new year and you want a little happiness inspiration, you might try the Happiness Project book. If you're going to work on a habit, that's often what people want to start doing in the new year. Better Than Before has a lot of suggestions about how to shape a habit, change in a way that's going to make it more likely that you can stick to it, because sometimes what works for other people doesn't work for us, and so we need to tailor it to ourselves. And if you're interested in doing the Happiness Project Experience course, which is the Happiness Project Experience online course with, it has like videos and interviews and SMS and live calls and resources, reflection exercises, all kinds of stuff. You can, I'm giving away 4 slots for you and 3 friends. If you want to know more about what it is and, how to go about these 4 free slots, if you look at my most recent Instagram post. You can find all the information there. And the last thing I would say about 20 for 20 and 21 for 21 is this is meant to be fun. Do not beat yourself up if you didn't complete everything on your 20 for 20 list. Remember, neither Elizabeth nor I have ever crossed everything off the list. Maybe COVID got in the way. Maybe you can't excuse COVID. Like, what was one of, I have one and I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't even, I can't even, make my scrapbook of now. I could do scrapbook of now at any point. Like, that was just me. And that's a repeat item. I've vowed that year after year and I still haven't done it. So for whatever reason, do not beat yourself up. Give yourself a big gold star for all the things that you did do. Think about all the things that weren't on your list that you did end up doing. And then as you think forward to 2021, maybe you want to have 10 fun things and 10 less fun things and a bonus thing. Maybe you want to have all fun things. Maybe you want to have one-off things like me getting the shingles vaccine. It's like I could just do that. Elizabeth had on her list buy 3 extra phone chargers, which the minute she put that on the list, I ordered them and sent them to her as an early present, because that's just that's something you can do and get done. Like, it's nice to put some things on there that you can scratch off pretty quickly. I think that's a good morale booster. So they don't all have to be things like get back into meditation, which is maybe a lifelong goal. So it's to have fun with it. It's to engage with it, to get excited and about all the possibilities of the upcoming year. It's a really kind of creative, fun way to think about what you want the future to hold. So thanks so much for joining. Onward to 2021. Thanks.